Sports First at 4 continues.
It is a severe weather alert day, and we've already seen some rough weather this afternoon. Let's get the latest now with meteorologist Evan Hatter. Evan?
That's right, Steve. Several severe thunderstorm warnings have been moving through the mountains so far this afternoon, and even a tornado watch remains in effect for some of our big sandy counties through 10 o'clock. You'll see that behind me, and we'll pop it up there on the screen for you. And we already continue to see that for places, let's say from Moorhead to West Liberty to Salyersville to Prestonsburg to Pikeville, and points off to the north and east. Continues with that until 10 o'clock. Wouldn't shock me if that gets scaled back a little bit in the next few hours, as I think our severe weather threat is starting to wane a little bit. It's breezy out there. 20 to 25 mile per hour sustained winds in many spots. The good news is no warnings in our immediate area. There is one with a severe thunderstorm pushing out of Logan County, West Virginia, where we have been watching a little bit of rotation with that thunderstorm just north of the Robinette area. That's going to continue to push off toward Highway 85 over the next little bit into portions of West Virginia. That will be moving out of our viewing area and into portions of the Mountain State. We'll continue, though, to watch some pop-up storms not far from Elkhorn City right now, continuing to push through. But the main severe threat, it looks to be transitioning to our north, and you see satellite and radar. Once we get it to load there, it's not the only severe weather threat around the country today. More not far from Jacksonville. For us tonight, breezy conditions, storms ending, though we stay mild, into the 50s overnight. I'll have the very latest, though, on those thunderstorms and when we start to clear out just a little bit, coming up in just a few minutes. Steve?
All right, Evan, thank you. Only days remain to pass key legislation in this year's General Assembly session. The General Assembly that started in January will end next month. WIMT's Phil Pendleton has more on some priority legislation with just days left to pass it.
After today, there's just 2 more days this week, 2 days next week, and then 2 days following a several-week veto session. And there are still a lot of high-profile bills yet to be considered. A 2-year spending plan. There's also bills hanging in the balance dealing with charter schools, medical marijuana, and sports betting. A budget bill that could include tax breaks and raises for public employees and state police has seen approval in both chambers, but both don't agree, and a conference committee is working out a compromise. The House has given its stamp of approval to a bill funding charter schools, one to allow limited use of cannabis to treat a handful of ailments, and a bill to have the horse racing industry manage sports betting. Those 3 items await hearings in the Senate. Governor Beshear says the legislature has the ability to do some big things with the budget.
And the budget needs to meet the moment. We have more recurring dollars than just about any time in our history. And thanks to good fiscal management, we have one of the largest surpluses.
Of course, the legislature has a lot of veto power with their supermajorities in both chambers, but if they're going to use that power in the last 2 days of the session, April 13th and 14th, they're going to have those bills approved by March the 30th. In Frankfort, Phil Pendleton, now back to you.
By law, the legislature has to be done with their work for this year's session on April 14th. Students at Pikeville Elementary are bringing their lessons to life, bringing research, reading, and writing into a reenactment. The 6th grade students put on the annual Living Wax Museum today, each portraying a figure in history with significant contributions to the world we now know. Students drew names 2 months ago and worked on the project during class time to put in the work and figure out the words to become the figure they presented today.
To see these kids just come in and be so proud and confident when some of them were scared to death of today and doing something like this, it's the most rewarding thing in the world. And I do have the best job in the world.
Coming up at 6, hear from some of those students who say this presentation was a great way to learn about the person they became. U.S. Supreme Court nominee Katanji Brown Jackson is facing her 2nd and final day of questioning after sitting for a nearly 12-hour grilling Tuesday. The White House and Senate Democrats say Judge Jackson has performed with grace and dignity during the past 3 days, while Republicans describe her testimony as unclear. CBS's Deborah Alfarone has more from Capitol Hill.
On her final day in the witness chair, U.S. Supreme Court nominee Katanji Brown Jackson said she'll bring all of her experiences to the bench if she is confirmed.
Mine include being a trial judge, being an appellate judge, being a public defender, being a Black woman, lucky inheritor of the civil rights dream.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer attended part of Day 3's session, which was marked by partisan bickering.
For many of senators, yesterday was an opportunity to showcase talking points for the November election.
Every time somebody on this side of the aisle asks questions of the judge, you come back and you denigrate and you attack.
Committee Republicans accused Judge Jackson of activism in past decisions and pressed her again on sentencings in her child pornography cases.
No one case can stand in for a judge's entire sentencing record. I've sentenced more than 100 people.
Senate Democrats have praised Judge Jackson's performance as impressive, but Republican leaders have characterized her answers as evasive.
She's declined to address critically important questions and ameliorate real concerns.
You will become a member of the U.S. Supreme Court.
Democrats have signaled they're confident Judge Jackson will ultimately be confirmed by the evenly divided Senate, with a final vote expected ahead of the Easter holiday. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
After today's public hearing, the Senate panel will go into a closed session to discuss Judge Jackson's background check. Tomorrow is the final day of confirmation hearings with testimony from a full slate of other witnesses, including representatives from the American Bar Association. As Judge Katanji Brown Jackson enters Day 3 of her Supreme Court nomination hearings, she appears to have support from a slight majority of the country. A Gallup poll released Wednesday morning shows 58% say they'd like to see her become the 9th member of the High Court. 30% say the Senate should reject her nomination, while 12% did not take a side. The findings of the poll are based on the opinions of just more than 1,000 adults during the first half of this month before the Jackson hearings began. WikiLeaks says its founder Julian Assange is set to marry his fiancée Stella Morris on Wednesday in London's HMP Belmarsh prison. According to a statement from WikiLeaks, Assange and Morris will be surrounded by just a few friends and family members. There will only be 4 guests and 2 witnesses allowed to attend the ceremony, as well as 2 security guards. Assange and Morris have 2 children together. WikiLeaks media team says hundreds of Assange supporters plan to gather outside the prison for the event. With gas prices still way up, many are wondering what role American crude oil plays in the price of gas. AAA says the national average for a gallon of gas is now $4.24, but the price of crude oil is much more important to oil producers. This morning, the benchmark price is more than $115 a barrel, a lot higher than last year. Oil prices have been especially volatile the last 5 years, and the boom and bust of the oil patch can have a major impact on small producers.
All of our wells shut down when it went to a minus number in April, and we shut everything down because you can't pay someone to come pick up your oil.
You had to shut down for 2 months?
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was like not getting a paycheck.
In the last 10 years, the sector has lost more than 50,000 employees. Wallace says she won't slow down and plans to keep pushing production of her small wells. She says it may not help Wall Street, but it helps Main Street. The 248th spacewalk at the International Space Station is underway. Astronauts Raja Shari and Matthias Maurer are making upgrades to the ISS, including installing hoses on a radiator beam valve module and replacing an external camera. The entire spacewalk is expected to last around 6.5 hours. On March 30th, the count at the space station will drop to 7 when NASA astronaut Mark Vande Hei returns to Earth. By the time he touches down, he'll have spent 355 straight days in outer space, which will break the previous record set by NASA astronaut Scott Kelly. Adidas is getting in on the college athlete endorsement game in a big way, but instead of going after the highest profile players, it's going after thousands of them. The company announced Wednesday it's creating a program for up to 50,000 college athletes to become paid endorsers for the brand. No word on how much the athletes will be getting, but it'll be open to college athletes at 109 Division I schools, making Adidas the first major sports brand to create a program for paying college athletes. Coming up on First at 4, home prices are soaring in a hot real estate market, but just how high are they going?
And showers will be with us off and on as we head through the end of the work week. I'll have the full details on that coming up.
WYMT News app offers alerts on breaking stories as they happen, customized to the categories you choose. The WYMT News